welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo signed 2017 appropriation bill into law, making history as Nigeria's first acting president to sign a budget. Activists and other Nigerians commemorate victory of MKO Abiola in June 12, 1993 presidential election. Some recommend replacement of May 29th with June 12 as Democracy Day. Kaduna State Governor sacks 4,776 traditional rulers in one fell swoop. And thousands of opposition protesters hit the streets over massive corruption in Russia. Police clamped down on protesters, arresting over 1,000.
And in business news tonight, central bank interventions in the foreign exchange market continues as the regulator injects over $400 million into the system. While on sports news, French Open winner Rafael Nadal insists his 15th career Grand Slam crown will not be his greatest achievement.
Bloodbath in Kogi State as rival political groups clash in Lokoja, leaving 2 people dead.
The acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has given Nigerians the assurance that the signing of the 2017 appropriation bill is a major milestone for the nation's democracy as it will lift the country out of recession. The acting president, who assented to the budget 4 weeks after it was transmitted to the executive by the National Assembly, commended the smooth process of the single budget, which has a deficit of 2.36 trillion naira. President Muhammadu Buhari first presented the budget to the National Assembly in December 2016 with an estimate of 7.28 trillion naira, but the acting president signed it into law at 7.441 trillion naira. Our correspondent Gloria Umezuke reports.
At exactly 4:40 p.m., the acting president walked into the conference room where the leadership of the National Assembly and that of the executive waited. Without much ado, the special advisor to the president, Senator Ita Enang, presented the 2017 appropriation bill to the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, to assent.
Okay, what is that?
Professor Osinbajo made it clear that the signed budget at 7.441 trillion naira and a deficit of 2.36 trillion is the gateway out of the recession for the nation.
I must say that the entire leadership of the National Assembly, led by the Senate President and the Speaker, adopted a commendably patriotic and statesmanlike approach to our engagements on resolving these critical issues. In sum, the engagements yielded acceptable results, the most important being that the leadership of the National Assembly has given us a commitment that the Assembly will reinstate budgetary allocations for all the important executive projects, such as the railway standard gauge projects, the Mambila Power Project, the Second Niger Bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, etc., which had been reduced to fund some other new projects. It is as a result of that understanding and the outcome of our detailed engagements that we feel able to sign the 2017 appropriations bill into law today.
Admitting that there was a delay of the final presentation and signing, the acting president says it was owing to disagreements about the changes introduced to the document by the National Assembly. The budget has a revenue projection of 5.08 trillion naira and an aggregate expenditure of 7.44 trillion.
The 2017 budget, which I'm signing into law today, is christened the Budget of Economic Recovery and Growth. It is designed to bring the Nigerian economy out of recession onto a path of sustainable and inclusive growth. For instance, we are committing over 200 billion to improve transportation infrastructure, such as roads and rail, and over 500 billion for investments in works, power, and housing. and 46 billion for special economic zone projects to be set up in each geopolitical zone.
The president, in a letter addressed to the Minister of Budget and National Planning on June 10, says he is pleased by a joint resolution that the executive would submit 2018 budget proposals by October 2017, and the National Assembly will conclude the appropriation process by December 2017.
Now we start the implementation. Two major things I see there as part of the recovery plan is one is that it's a budget of a capital of 2 trillion, the largest we've done so far. If we can maintain the success of 2016, the percentage of capital implementation, that is good for Nigerians.
Now that the budget is in place, Nigerians expect the fiscal policy and plans of the administration to hit the ground running. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Now, we're in June and Budget 2017 is just being signed into law. The records show that this is the longest Nigerians have ever had to wait for a budget to be signed into law. So what's the strategy to catch up? Joining me tonight on the news at 10 is a professor of economics and the Director General of the West African Institute for Financial and Economic Management, Professor Akpan Ikpo. Thanks so much for joining us on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
So halfway into the year, some say on an expired 2016 budget, today, that it's all sorted out now. How do you think we can put things into perspective now in terms of catching up?
Well, I think there's no question that the delay has adverse implications on the economy, but they have to hit the ground running. And the only hope is that since there's an economic growth and recovery plan, that at some point the delay may be subsumed as we move forward. Otherwise, the delay is not just a trivial issue. It's a serious matter, and I hope going forward we will avoid such delays. Six months delay has very adverse effect on the economy in terms of attracting investors, both domestic and foreign investors, in terms of creating uncertainty among economic agents. So it's always good to reduce that delay, what economists call structural lag. In Nigeria, it's been a problem over the years, so I think we need to reduce it. So it's a landmark, but the delay could create problems. So they have to hit the ground running and ensure that in implementation, there are no bottlenecks. Because that's another issue.
We'll get to implementation in a minute, but of course there's a lot of expectation on this particular budget. You heard the acting president himself say that it's one that's going to bring the people out of recession, the economy that is. How do you expect that to happen, and what steps?
Well, you see, we've been almost a year now and a quarter of this year in recession. When you're in recession, you need the visible hand of government through spending to take out of a recession.
Are you seeing that?
So I'm saying that with this delay now, they have to hit the ground running. But my own research has shown that except we implement 80% of the fiscal components of this year's budget, will not exit the recession. And let's not forget that if you exit the recession, it's a technical issue. The other major challenges still remain in the economy. So the main thing is to continue the reforms and to change the structure of the economy as you go forward. Recessions come and go. Once you run a market economy, you're going to have recessions, But did you have managed the economy properly, put in good policies to minimize the adverse effect of recessions? But they come and go. So it's good to exit it, but in my view, we must at least implement 80% or the fiscal components of the budget.
With the time that you see that we have left, is that something you think is achievable? Because implementation has always been the problem.
It's a big problem. That's why I'm saying that I suspect that they are going to again extend the length of this year's budget. Don't forget that with the plan that we have now, this budget should have been derived from the plan document. As I was saying, that going forward, it may be subsumed. So we don't have much time. So I think that it may take us up to the third or fourth quarter to be to see us getting out of the recession. All
right, just quickly now, what's your outlook or your forecast for the markets? It is looking a little bit better?
Well, the market looks a little better, but the market's like you're running a casino system. It goes up, it comes down. And so when you're in a recession, you don't really take interest in the market. It's important, but that's not the big issue, because if you have a lot of portfolio investment, they could get out if you have some other challenges in the economy. So it's looking okay now, but we shouldn't count much on that. We should count on government for now, taking us out of the recession. Government through spending on capital projects, and even at times on recurrent. Because if you owe workers salaries, you don't pay them, they don't have enough money to demand goods and services, companies will not produce those goods and services. So you may be in a recession. So you need both capital and recurrent expenditures to exit the recession.
All right, Professor of Economics Akpan Ekpo, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you.
Now, Enugu and Anambra had an august visitor today in the person of the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. His visit is at the instance of the Law Teachers Association as they celebrate their 50th anniversary. The vice president used the forum to drum up support for the federal government's anti-corruption war.
A colourful ceremony at the Enugu International Airport. People trip out to welcome the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who is on transit to Awka in Anambra State. A few minutes later, the acting president arrives in Anambra and is received by the governor, Willie Obiano. It's the 50th Law Teachers Conference, and the hall is filled with people of different backgrounds, including the traditional ruler of Onitsha, Obi Alfred Achebe.
Professor Yemi.
Acting President Yemi Osinbajo speaks on the topic Law, Security and National Development. He challenges law teachers to join in the anti-corruption crusade.
That level of corruption is an existential threat to any nation. The abject poverty of millions in every zone of our nation, the absence of good roads, schools, hospitals, is largely because some have pocketed the Commonwealth. Boko Haram, for example, could have cost us less in loss of lives of our brave soldiers and over 20,000 civilians, if the government and military authorities had not corruptly enriched themselves with the funds to purchase platforms, equipment, uniforms, and allowances. The people want to know, why is it that it is so difficult to prove that a man who was earning $200,000 a month suddenly finds himself with several houses and billions of naira and dollars too? How does that require special proof?
And for those clamoring for an independent state, he warns on the dangers of separation.
It is the same elite, especially the political elite, who fail the people by the wastage and embezzlement of their funds, who are at the forefront of pretending that their deprivations are caused by their ethnic nationalities. It is not so.
Echoing the acting president's view, the governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, says it's important for everyone to know that Nigeria is better as one country. He advises legal practitioners to address the issue of granting of bail to criminal suspects.
We arrest very notorious criminals, we charge them to court, they are released on bail. They go back to commit the same crime or even fight the people that arrested them, and spend money and resources, arrest them again, charge them to court, they are released on bail. The cycle goes on and on and on. There must be a solution, and I want you to find the answer to that.
The focus of this conference is on fighting corruption and reforming the judicial system. The concession here seems to be that the time is ripe for the realization of the suggestions made here, but the onus is now on the government to see to the implementation.
In part two, after the break, states in the southwest of Nigeria mark 24th anniversary of June 12 presidential election. That's in a moment. You stay with us.